الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد. Continuing in our lessons on نواقض الإسلام of Shaykh al-Islam Muhammad bin Abdul rahimahullah. Last week we started the text talking about the first nullifier, which is shirk. And the intent of the Shaykh here is shirk akbar, major shirk. So if we go back to the text that we're reading from, the author rahimahullah, he mentioned the shirku al-awwalu, the first of the nullifiers, al-shirku fi ibadati Allah ta'ala. Someone associating partners with Allah in worship. And the proof for it is the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَغْفِرُ أَن يُشْرَكَ بِهِ وَيَغْفِرُ مَا دُونَ ذَلِكَ لِمَن يَشَاءُ. Allah doesn't pardon or forgive those who associate partners with Him, and forgives whatever is less than that for whomsoever He wills. And then the author says, وَمِنْهُ, examples of shirk akbar, الذَّبْحُ لِغَيْرِ اللَّهِ, slaughtering or sacrificing for other than Allah, يعني animals, كَمَنْ يَذْبَحُ لِلْجِنِّ أَوْ لِلْقَبْرِ, like the one who slaughters for the jinn, أو لِلْقَبْرِ, or for the grave. So here the author established that shirk akbar is a nullifier of Islam, and this is correct. And we're going to show, inshallah ta'ala, today how that works. If someone did major shirk, what are the steps? What are the steps we go through to ensure the person is still a Muslim or not a Muslim? We said last week shirk is of two categories, major and minor shirk. Shirk akbar was shirk asghar, major shirk and minor shirk, and both of them are haram. But the difference is that major shirk expels someone from the faith, to take you out of Islam. Again, if someone meets the conditions and all the preventives have been lifted. As for minor shirk, then it's a major sin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive the person, inshallah, but they should repent from it. They don't want to die upon this, because Allah called it shirk. And therefore the scholars, they said, what is the difference between major and minor shirk? What are some of the differences and similarities? Similarities, major and minor shirk are both prohibited, both are haram. So that's the agreement. As for major shirk, Allah will not forgive it if someone dies upon it and doesn't repent. And the key word, died upon it. Or sometimes lay people, they tell people Allah will never forgive shirk. Yani when you die, if you are alive, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَغْفِرُ الذُّنُوبَ جَمِيعًا, Allah forgives all sins. So we have to explain that point, because if we tell a non-Muslim Allah doesn't forgive shirk, he's going to say, I already did shirk, so assalamu alaikum, I can't become Muslim. And I've seen this before. Someone giving da'wah and he told someone, God doesn't forgive polytheism. The guy was looking at it, I already did it. So we have to tell them, when you die on it, you have to explain that. If you don't, people always think something different. Number two, the one who committed it, if they die upon it, will be in the hellfire forever. خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا. They will never come out of. And this is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the key to Jannah, La ilaha illallah. So someone cannot go to Jannah because that which they worship besides Allah, them and that which they worship are all in Jahannam. And that's adala, that's justice, divine justice, because they never intended reward from Allah. So whoever you intended reward from, you and that thing both are in Jahannam, as in Surah Al-Anbiya. And number three, it takes you out of Islam, which is our conversation today. Someone did it, takes you out of Islam. This is the thing that the Shaykh al-Islam is trying to highlight, because in his time period, people were doing a lot of major shirk. A lot of ignorance was spread in Arabia at that time, in the 13th century, Islamic calendar. And so Shaykh al-Islam was trying his utmost best to educate the people about it. As for minor shirk, Allah will forgive it, inshallah, if He so wills. Because Allah says, وَيَغْفِرُ مَا دُونَ ذَلِكَ. Allah forgives what's less than that. And last week we said there's a difference of opinion amongst the scholars. Allah forgive minor shirk. And the more correct opinion, Wallahu a'lam, Allah forgives it. Wallahu a'lam is a stronger view. And the reason why this is a stronger view, the difference of opinion came on the same ayah. Both groups are looking at chapter number 4, Surah An-Nisa, ayah 48. And they're differing on this. So those who say it will not be forgiven, they say the ayah is general and includes all shirk. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَغْفِرُ أَن يُشْرَكَ بِهِ. So here is general. So it includes both major and minor shirk. That's it. And so this is how they understood it. Whereas the second group, they said yes, when the ayah is general, but it's also zahir. So we're going to, again, for usul al-fiqh we have generality, al-am, and we have zahir. In the Quran, anytime Allah talks about shirk with zahir, in generality or apparently, it's always major shirk. So the other group responded, go to chapter 5 verse 72. Allah says in there that He doesn't forgive, or He's going to put in Jahannam those do shirk. Right? Allah made haram for them Jannah. So chapter 5 verse 72 is a mention of shirk. That's major shirk. Ayah chapter 4 verse 48 is also major shirk. Chapter 39 verse 65, major shirk. For most of the Quran, when major shirk is zahir, is major shirk. So they responded by saying, how could you say this is minor included when the whole Quran mentions major? That's the argument. So wallahu a'lam, inshallah Allah will forgive it. But a person should know enough of a sin is minor shirk that the ulama differ, some will be forgiven. That's sufficient of a sin. That is khilaf, it will be forgiven. So when someone thinks of a minor shirk, just remember it tops the list of all major shirk, major sins. All major sins, number one is minor shirk. It's worse than killing, suicide, drugs, because it's something to do with offending Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not giving Him His due right. And so where every other sin you find after that is to do with the people and their huquq. So if you think about it, someone today, when we hear people committed shirk, it's not something small. Minor shirk is serious. And today's time it's widespread with the cameras and the social media. People are posting everything. But if someone killed someone, we're all shocked, which is a terrible sin. But if someone committed minor shirk, we should also be likewise offended. طيب, with both these things being said, Shaykh al-Islam is trying to highlight that major shirk takes you out of Islam. And this everybody agrees to. It's muttafaq, and it's agreed upon. But there's some details we need to understand. Number one, what is major shirk? We have to have a qaida, a dhabit. So we can't just say major shirk is any shirk. Because if someone didn't define it, someone will think that they committed it. So the ulama, they mentioned, just like we have tawheed, the opposite of tawheed is shirk. So what is the definition of tawheed then? Anyone else remembers? So that's Islam. What's so? Ifradullah subhanahu wa ta'ala bima yakhtassu bihi, that which is specific to Him. To single out Allah and that which is unique and specific to Him. So what's shirk then? To give anything that's specific to Allah to other than Allah. Whether it be to His Lordship, in relation to His Lordship, rububiyyah, or His worship, uluhiyyah, or His names and attributes, asma wa sifat. So therefore, if any time you equate other than Allah with Allah, فيما هو من خصائص الله, and that which is special or is unique to Allah, فقد وقع في شرك أكبر. You committed major shirk. So if you remember tawheed, then you know shirk, the opposite. So whatever is unique to Allah, you have to give it to Allah. For example, praying salah. Salah belongs to Allah. فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ. Only pray to Allah, salah only for His sake. If I pray towards other than Allah or for other than Allah, I fell into shirk. If you say what category? Fil ibadah or uluhiyyah. Because I gave what's unique to Allah, special for Him, it's deserving for Him, and I gave it to other than Allah. For example, rububiyyah. Allah is the only one who gives life and death. If I say there's another person who gives life and death, I committed shirk. In which category? Rububiyyah, lordship. If someone says Allah has unique names and attributes, some are only for Him, like in the name Ar-Rahman. And then I say I'm going to call myself Ar-Rahman, بدون alif, بدون abd, no abd, just Abdul Rahman by itself. And I'm not ignorant. I know what it means. I am understood, but I'm arrogant. And this is shirk fi asma wa sifat, like this. So the point is, if someone gives anything that's unique and special to Allah to other than Allah, they've committed shirk akbar. But that doesn't mean then that they're mushrik. You gotta differentiate. You're mushrik fi hukum an-naw', just in the category, not bi hukm ayn. We're not talking about you right now. We're talking about hukm ayn, naw'. That's the categorical ruling, not the individualistic ruling yet. So one of the rules we're learning here, Shaykh al-Islam, when he says you commit shirk, he never said, and so-and-so is a mushrik. He didn't tell you to do hukum. He's telling you what the ruling is in origin. And why is this important? When you read Nواقض of Islam, where is everybody making mistake? The people who read it, they take what Shaykh says, Shaykh al-Islam, and then they apply it to people. They go from a ta'sil to tanzil. Ta'sil is the order, the hukum. Or tanzil, this is ilm. You want to apply it to somebody. So right now, if I say to you, shirk akbar takes you out of Islam, we all agree. Then I come and say, my neighbor is mushrik. No, that's not going to work. You can't just do that. You got to have knowledge. And this is what's going on nowadays. This is what the Khawarij do. Any of their books, you never say this. There's no ta'liq. There's no shurut. There's no mawani'. Nope. They just say, هذا أصل وهذا النواقض متفق عليه. Everyone agreed upon. We're with you. We're with you. I have a problem application. I'm not talking about theory. So brothers and sisters, this is the point where you have to understand very well. So at the end of today's class, when we learn this, you will not go from nu' to ayn, from category to person, without the steps. And that's Ahlul Sunnah Jama'ah. We have rahmah for the people. If someone today is your family member, is not praying salah, and we know the difference of opinion about salah, someone doesn't pray it in totality, is kufr akbar, according to many of the scholars. Does any one of us declare their family members kuffar? We don't, most of us. In daily life, you don't treat him as a kafir. So you understand that point. But somebody else's uncle and somebody else's father is a kafir, right? See how this works? Your uncle, he's okay. Your uncle, he does what he doesn't pray. That guy's uncle, his uncle could be the ruler. You see, this is what's going on nowadays. You ask the Kharij, is your mother Muslim? See where he takes it. He says she is, he already exposed himself. He's extremist. But most of them will say, but she doesn't know anything. And someone else's mom doesn't know anything. You have to understand the rahmah of the deen. So the reason I'm saying this, that this is a major point Shaykh al-Islam was accused of by the Khawarij themselves and also the Orientalists and the non-Muslims. They think that Shaykh al-Islam is saying, here's a list of the top 10 shirk or nawaqid, nullifiers. Whoever does it is out of Islam. This is in theory. He never said application because look at his rasail, read. Go to Durasaniya, read what he writes and how he acted in his time. Did he ever do that to people? And this is the difference, brothers. Later on you can see there's some good books where they shall talk about the difference between Shaykh al-Islam Muhammad Wahhab and the Da'wah Najdiyya and the Khawarij. Very important to know that because today, people when they read the book, they unfortunately misunderstand it. So now that we know the shirk is whenever you give something which is uniquely to Allah, whether it be in lordship, worship, or the names, attributes of Allah to other than Allah, then the person, that is considered shirk akbar. As for the person who has done it, then we obviously have to take a look at the person's situation. Continuing, Shaykh al-Islam now, he gives us two examples, one range example to help us explain what it looks like. And that is the example of dhabh, slaughtering for other than Allah. We already studied in Kitab al-Tawheed that there's categories for the slaughter for other than Allah. But let's just read what he says. He says, وَمِنْهُمْ, an example of shirk akbar, major shirk, الذبح لغير الله, slaughtering for other than Allah, like كَمَنْ يَذْبَحُ, like the one who slaughters the jinnah or lil-qabr, like the one who slaughters for the jinn or the grave. So, to understand this, we must categorize dhabh, slaughter, into categories. And there's 4 categories. And those of us who we did the Kitab al-Tawheed or the principles of it, we covered this. But again, we're going to learn it again. Repetition is good. So, slaughtering for other than Allah or slaughtering in general breaks into 4 categories. Category number 1, a slaughter or slaughtering which is worship. Al-dhabh, which is considered ta'abbudi or ibadah, the slaughter of worship. And this is when you slaughter an animal for Allah's sake as a way to draw nearer to Him. So you're doing it to come closer to Allah. Taqarruban, you're getting close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what kind of slaughter is this, or what kind of act is this? We call it ibadah. Because you've done it for Allah's sake and in the method that Allah prescribed it, with His name, with the right animal, at the right time, etc. We did all that. So an example we studied in fiqh of this, we said when someone does aqiqah, that's considered slaughter as active worship. So what's the key element here? The taqarrub, for Allah's sake. Category 2, the slaughter of shirk. The slaughter of shirk. And this is when someone, he slaughters for other than Allah, as a form to get closer to them, or to draw nearer to them, or as devotion. So this is called the slaughter of shirk. So this is the one that comes in the Hadith Ali. La'an Allah, may Allah curse, man dhabah li ghayrillah, the one who slaughters for other than Allah's sake. This is called al-dhabh al-shirki. Dhabh shirki is when you're doing it for other than Allah, as what kind of act? Taqarruban, as devotion for them. So when Shaykh al-Islam says the one who slaughters for jinn, what is he talking about here? When you slaughter for a jinn, what are you doing for? Taqarruban. No one is, you're not going to feed them, right? I don't think you're hosting the jinn, right? So clearly it's taqarrub, or to escape from their harm. And you're doing it, it's not allowed. Or someone slaughters for the qabr. We're going to get to that one. And this qabr has two rulings. Slaughtering for the graves is muhtamad. It has 2 ways to look at it. Number 3, slaughtering of innovation. Al-dhabh al-bid'i, the slaughter of innovation. So this one, you're doing it for Allah, but you did it in a bid'i way, innovated way. Pay attention here, brothers and sisters. This one, you have to pay attention to it. It's for Allah, the intention. And the name of Allah is being used. It's for Allah, but the way he did it is bid'i. It's an innovated way. Example, he took a cause, or he made a sabab, a cause for the slaughter which is not Islamic. So for example, he's slaughtering on Wednesdays, believing that Wednesdays are virtuous for slaughter. It's for Allah, he said Bismillah, but it's bid'i. He said, why Wednesdays, brother? No dalil. See, it's called bid'ah, but he's not going to say shirk. Because he did it for Allah, but he did a bid'ah. So he came with a cause which is not correct. Someone may say, how do you know the cause? Some ulama say, if it's not one of the four, it's considered an innovated cause. Because you're doing taqarruban. This category, you're doing the slaughter as an act of worship, but in either a cause or a place or we'll see examples. You're doing it the wrong way. But you're trying to do taqarrub. You're trying to worship Allah by way of it. So an example, someone slaughtered on a particular date or a particular occasion as an act of worship for Allah. So ulama say if it's not one of the four, it's not supposed to be done as ibadah. If it's not a aqiqah, or a hadi, or udhiyah, or nadar, then it's from the innovated ones. Taqarruban, you're doing a taqarrub. It's not one of the four. So when we study fiqh, how many categories started do we cover? Aqiqah was the last one we did. Al-hadi for hajj, udhiyah as well for Eid, and nadar, I did oath. So anyone else, if you just made your own day, time, occasion, as an act of worship, not talking about you're hungry, act of worship, this is for Allah's sake. No, you can't do that. So the reason most people don't usually do that, but imagine someone did that, you're going to say this is bid'i, not shirki. Because it's for Allah. Another example, someone slaughters for Allah's sake, to draw near to him, but he has the wrong jins, the wrong category of animal. So he's slaughtering for Allah's sake, he's doing the udhiyah, and he got a chicken. Now we're going to say, brother, the chicken, maybe you can afford it, but it's not going to count. Is it going to count? Min behemoth an'am. Sorry, but this is bid'i. But it's lillah, you can still eat it, inshallah, but it's not going to count. See the difference? You're not going to say it's shirki bid'i. No, you can eat it for later, but sorry, it doesn't count. That's the difference. Another one, it's the wrong place. The wrong place, makan. He picked a place, he thinks it's Mubarak. And this happens often. You see people, he goes to a place, he wants to slaughter there. We have to ask him, why you picked this place? So someone might say, because, it has this virtue, then this is going to become a bid'ah. Or, and this is what Shaykh al-Islam said, al-qabri. You can say the person who slaughtered at the grave, it can be this one too. If he's slaughtering at the grave, believing that the grave is a virtuous site. Not that he's doing it for other than Allah. So if he's doing it for Allah at the grave, what do we call it? It's a dhabh al-bid'i, because it's for Allah, but the wrong place. But if he did this with the other one, he did it for the people in the grave. Then it's shirki. You see? So when you see Shaykh al-Islam Kashf Shubahat, look how he investigates this topic. The Shubahat, for example, you see someone at the grave with the animals, already suspicious. Right? Because this is not the place to be slaughtering. You're going to desecrate, dirty all the graves anyways with the blood. So if you see someone going there, you have to ask him, what are you doing? And you have to explain. He's going to, I'm just going to do it here. He's going to tell it's too tight. You have to tell him, is this a good place to do it? And you're going to get to the bottom of it. But how do we know he's doing shirk? You have to ask. You have to investigate. You see problem, brothers and sisters. Some people, they see someone doing that. That's it, Shaykh Akbar, he's mushrik. And we're going to see the fatwa al-mashayikh, they don't do that. Shaykh ibn Baz, rahimahullah, you can read it online, his fatwa on his website. When they ask him, slaughtering the grave, he said if it's for the people in the graves, Shirk Akbar. If it's for the place, it's bid'ah. That's ilm. Those are the ulama. So we are learning this because the Khawarij, again, if you read their books, there's no ta'liqat like this. And muttafaqun alayhi, it's agreed upon. We're with you. We're just asking which one is which. And this shows you, as I said before last week, one of the ways the Khawarij get around this is that they don't do istifsal, not only details, they'll go into tafsir. The last category is slaughtering, which is permissible. And this is when you're slaughtering for the honoring the guest. Akrimu dayf, your guest came over, he slaughtered. Story Ibrahim and the Malaika, right? This is the origin of that. And of course, Nabi Sallallahu Sahaba, they used to do it. So honoring the guest. Another one, trade. You're slaughtering for business. You're making money from selling the meat. Or you're eating it. This is called a dabah, which is permissible. So which one is shirk then? Which one is Shaykh al-Islam saying? He's talking about number 2, category 2. This is the one that's going to take you out of Islam. So some of the ulama, they mentioned that the dhabah, بِنِيَّةِ التَّقَرُّبِ, any slaughter with the intention of drawing near لِلْمَذْبُوحِ له, for the one he's slaughtering for. any dhabh, any slaughter, which is performed بنية التقرب, with the intention of drawing near للمذبوح له, for the one who is slaughtering for, وتعظيمه, and honoring him by way of it, عبادة, is considered ibadah or shirk. يعني عبادة لغير الله يعني. So that's how you're going to check. When someone's slaughtered, it's always these 4 categories. We have to do some checking. But you notice, brothers and sisters, when the ulama talk about this, they always go into details. And that's one of the ways that we're going to learn in this book, that whenever we talk about these masail, take it easy, go into steps. And I'm going to talk about in a second now, if someone did one of these, what's our position or ruling? So now that we realize there's 4 of them. It's 4 of them. So he talked about the jinn. Now let's go back to the text. He says, minhu, an example, slaughtering for the jinn. What kind of shirk is that? Or what kind of dhabh is that? Slaughtering for the jinn? Someone's doing it, it's taqarrub. This is most cases, but we have to investigate to ask them, why you do that? Right? So if someone's going to say for protection, or was doing it for their sake, so this is obviously shirk. If someone's slaughtering for the jinn for some other reason which is not correct, for example, if he has jinn friends or something, or he wants to honor them, I can't tell him, well, this is not correct, but they shouldn't be friending them first of all, right? And that's another issue. But why we're investigating? Shirk, brothers and sisters, the point Shaykh al-Islam doesn't highlight at the end of the book, but this is valid because it's a beginner book. The ulama now go into, what do you do if someone falls into a major shirk? What is the position that we have? And this part we have to pay close attention to it. First thing we said already, anytime someone falls into major shirk, we already talked about the fact that any shirk someone falls into, or kufr, any naqid min nawaqid, you have to check the conditions and the preventatives. Does he meet the conditions, or has lifted all the preventatives? And we said the qa'idah, the principle, the difference between a takfir al-naw' and a takfir al-ayn. Takfir of category and takfir of individual or specific items. Or some say takfir al-mutlaq or takfir al-muqayyid. You can use any language like this. The key is, when someone falls into shirk, the action that they did, or the statement they did, we're going to call it kufr or shirk as a categorical ruling. Either naw' category, or you call it mutlaq, unrestricted. Now we need to go from that ta'sil. We have to see if the person gets the ruling. And it comes down from there to the ayn or the muqayyid. You're going from general, unrestricted to restricted, or ruling of categorical ruling to specific ruling. That's our position in general. Hence why we do iqamat al-hujjah, right? Now someone may say, is it possible for someone to be ma'dhur, forgiven for major shirk? And this is a topic we cannot talk about now because of the time. And the ulama have discussed in the past, present, until now, discussions about udhr, the excuse of jahal, ignorance, for major shirk. And alhamdulillah, ulama have written beautiful books on it, explaining that. It's a difference opinion among Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Is there such thing as forgiveness or pardoning, ignorance for somebody who did major shirk? And the correct view, wallahu a'lam, is that since the difference of opinion, no need to be so strict in it between the ulama, and many of our contemporary scholars are of the view that there is such thing as udhr, jahal, for the person doing major shirk. The reason why we have to just emphasize this point, some people say no. Why? As I said last week, some of the ulama, they hold a view, this is too open. Masail jaliyya or masail khafiyya. They say issues which are apparent, clear cut. Someone's making sujood to a qabr, someone's slaughtering for an idol. What are you going to ask him? What is he doing? So they say masail jaliyya, clear cut issues, you don't ask. You don't investigate. That's one view. But other group of scholars say no. It still can be investigated because, as we'll see in a second, there can be different reasons and preventatives. There are things that could prevent somebody, like the fact that he really didn't know. It's possible to go ignorant. We can't say there's no such thing as jahl even till today. We can't see that. And the reason I'm saying this is because some people may say, well, everyone knows everything, but we don't. So many of the ulama say, even with this being said, we have to accept anyone who does shirk or kufr, which is clear cut, let alone the one that's possible. You must establish the proof on them. That's the best way to go. Iqamat al-hujjah. And you also investigate if they meet the conditions to make takfir and lift the preventatives. That's the rule. That's how we should go about it. And the reason I'm saying this is because if someone doesn't do that and just say it's lahir akhi, this comes to shirk, you may not know that some of the ibadat or a'mal, are muhtamal and some of them are not. An example, just to highlight this, will come later. Brother Majid in his class was talking about it some weeks ago, about the issue about the Quran, desecrating or disgracing the Quran. Someone takes the mushaf and throws in the floor. What's the ruling on that? It's kufr, But then we're going to ask the question, he had to know it was the Quran, right? He saw the Mus'haf, he knew it was the Quran. He's not angry, extremely angry. Nothing's wrong, he just took it and threw it on the ground. It's kufr, mutlaq, unrestricted, it's kufr. Another person takes the Quran, he throws it out of anger. What's the ruling? What's the ruling, brothers? You see, some of us are hesitant. What is hesitant? He's angry, very angry. He lost his mind. Not a kufr. We have to say, no, he has a preventative. Or he threw the book, he didn't know it was Quran. He just knocked it down and he realized the Quran. See, this point here, you can see that. But we're not even going to go there. We're just going to say, imagine someone did that. He had clearly through the Quran is kufr. Are we going to ask him? Are we going to check? He's ignorant. We still have to go that direction because it's safer and the better way to approach it, despite the fact we agreed that this is a clear-cut kufr. The ulama still say ma'a shurut, with the conditions. And that's why I go to the story of Musa alayhi salam. When he got angry, what did he do? He threw the Torah, the tablets, he broke it. And as a qissa, Shaykh Islam Taymiyyah went before over it. When he got angry one day, he threw the kitab, the kutub on the floor, out of anger in the debate. And when they asked him, Astaghfirullah, how can you do that? He said, didn't Musa do it out of anger? I'm angry. Of course, they were shocked. Shaykh Islam always has dalil, always, right? Even when he was angry, he had a dalil. They looked at him like, oh man, you got us. But the reason I'm saying this, brothers, we need to start training ourselves not to be so quick. Here's the key. Islam is a ruling on the zahir of a shakhs. Pay attention to this ruling. Islam is a judgment on a person's zahir. This is what we call Islam hukmi. Anyone you see now as a Muslim, what kind of judgment are you making? On zahirihi, upon his parent. This is called Islam hukmi. The Islamic ruling upon parent. But it's possible inside someone could be a munafiq. Right? That's called the batin, the hidden. In Islam, when someone says La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, we judge them upon the parent. We don't investigate their hidden. We leave that to Allah. But kufr is a judgment on the zahir wal batin. Kufr is a judgment on the zahir wal batin. When you say someone's kafir, he's kafir on what he did, what he said, and what he believes, all at once. Hence, the ulama say making a ruling on someone who did kufr, it's not clear, easy to say that he's kafir both internally and externally, except by first investigating if the action he did necessitates that, or does he have a preventative to begin with. See the problem we have already? Someone threw the mushaf on the ground, clearly this is kufr. But how do I know when internally he might have some ignorance or he was extremely angry? I don't know, so I have to hold back and be cautious. If you understand this point, that leads us to the second point. So hukum and kufr is a hukum zahir wal batin. Islam is a hukum al zahir, not the batin. So when you see a Muslim walking around, you're not going to say he could be munafiq. Allah alam, we don't go there. We don't do that. But if someone does kufr and you say he's a kafir, you're making both judgments. Just remember that. That's what you're telling us. Hence why the ulama is so hesitant to make takfir. And how the ignorant people are so quick to make takfir. Because he doesn't know this. Second thing, some actions are unrestrictedly kufr mutlaq, and some actions are kufr muhtamal. Right? They're muhtamal, and they're possibly kufr. In some cases there are, some are not. Examples I gave you: throwing the mushaf, cursing Allah and His Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam. We're going to get to istihza. Istihza issues are kufr unrestrictedly because the Quran and Sunnah didn't tell us to do istifsar, yani check what it was his intention, why he said bad things about Allah. I'm not saying the person who did is kafir immediately. I'm just saying that this is kufr, the ruling. But look at the one like we talked about, the slaughter. If I slaughter the grave, what am I going to do? I ask the person, what do you do that for? If he says for the person in the grave, shirk, and then I have to do the next steps and to explain to him why this is not allowed, because he's clearly ignorant if he's doing this. Or the opposite. He did it because he thought it's a holy site to do it. Someone told him it's good to do it there. So it's bid'ah, then you explain that you shouldn't do that. Here the ulama say in any case, if it's unrestricted or it's possible, you have to establish the conditions or fulfill the conditions and lift the preventatives. That's the ruling of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, not like the Khawarij. Khawarij don't do this. Whether it's mutlaq or it's muhtamal, they don't care. Us, we're not like that. So we have to be careful. And when someone says this is kufr, we say I'm with you. But now we have to go to the next step. You identify the kufr, you identify the shirk. Now please do the iqamat al-hujjah and explain to this person. And after that, someone can make a further ruling. Someone after all that, he's still doing it. And that's why the ulama usually mention that. You have to be someone who's able to do so. But now let's continue for a second. If an action is kufr unrestrictedly, we must establish the rulings we mentioned. Otherwise, we could make takfir of them wrongly. You did kufr but you did ayn, and you didn't have the qualification to do that, or you did it too quickly. So with all this being said, Shaykh al-Islam, he never told us any of this. All he was telling us is that someone did Shirk Akbar, it takes you out of Islam. He didn't say don't make takfir of people. He's Shaykh al-Islam. When he makes takfir of somebody, he's Shaykh al-Islam. Me and you are not Shaykh al-Islam. And that's why some people come and say he's making takfir of people. بعلم, يعني, who is he? He's alim. What do you mean? As if making takfir of people is not allowed at all. That's also Ahl Sunnah Jama'ah don't believe. We make takfir of people, yes. بحق. So Shaykh al-Islam, when he made takfir of his people in his time period, بعلم, يعني, he's Shaykh al-Islam. He challenged them. But today what's happening is people are saying, why is he make takfir anybody? That's another extreme. That's another extreme. So we have to be aware of these two extremes. The Khawarij who don't do any details, and the people who say there's no such thing. And one last benefit, this topic here, if someone just presents what we mentioned today, that doesn't mean they're sellout or watered down. Some people say, look at this, watered down, murji. It's irja'. There is no connection between irja' and udb jahl. There is no. This is what the Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen, they asked him, rahimahullah, about this. Is the person who does excuses people for ignorance, murji? He said, there's no connection whatsoever. Al-batta, yani nothing to do with that. Why? Because you're saying this person is making excuses. The Sharia does this. Where do we get the idea you have to investigate people when they do something of shirk or kufr? Hayd Hatib, we're going to get to later. When he made a mistake, when he went and he told the non-Muslims where they're going, the Muslims for the battle, Nabi Sallallahu asked him, Hatib, why did you do that? Why is Rasul asked him? This is the deen. So this is very important. And when some people come today, they may come and say, look at these people. See, these guys this is how they are, the murji'ah. The funny thing is, some of the ulama have shown that the Khawarij, they're close to murji'ah than anybody. Because both of them agree upon doing khuruj. Al-Hakim, biduna haqq. So it's funny that they're real murji'ah, the Khawarij. And they're together in that, but ma'asayf. But they turned it against Ahl Sunnah. Give you an example now, how the ulama were so cautious of this issue. Ibn Qayyim, he mentions this benefit. Imam Ahmed one day, is reported from Imam Ahmed. Ibn Qayyim mentions Kitab al-Funun, so Ibn Aqir and others, they report that Imam Ahmed one day was asked, a man heard the mu'adhin saying, Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. I bear witness that there's Muhammad is Messenger of Allah. The mu'adhin is saying it, and a man said, I deny that. Is he kafir? Imam Ahmed said, no. It's possible he denied the person what he said, but not the kalima of the shahada, of the mu'adhin. I mean the actual adhan. This is ulama. This is how they deal with it. Ihtimal, yani, possible. Imagine someone today heard that. Can't pray behind you, brother. Sorry, you're kafir. So this is, you see, brothers, what's going on today. And if you ask the person who doesn't takfir, have you ever seen those people ever come to a dars? Takfir, he's already ma'alim, mashallah. He's already on the internet, making hukm everybody. He already has fatawa. He doesn't come to any dars. And he doesn't face anybody. And he doesn't face the consequences of takfir. So this is why, if you look at these statements, there's many of them, how, if you follow the correct methodology, you're in safety. Even if you did not pronounce takfir on someone, after following the steps, it's safer for you than to do takfir and get it wrong. Right? It's safer. That's why Shaykh Islam to me famous that he made takfir of men, like 99 or almost 1,000 people wrongly is better than one by accident. But the idea is that being safe is better. And I want to finish by next week going into the next part of shirk, but next week we'll do it, where Shaykh Islam now he gives the second naqid, which is also major shirk. So the book, the way it's organized, the first two are shirk. Okay, so we go back to summary. Shaykh Islam's book, Nواقض Islam, is based on, we said, three major usul when it comes to nawaqid, are based on three usul: major shirk, major kufr, and major nifaq. So now we did the first one, major shirk. That's the first one. And second week, next week we're going to talk about the second one, is to do with placing between you and Allah intermediary, which is also a type of shirk. So again, he goes back there. So inshallah, we'll talk about that. Anyone have any quick questions before the salah, inshallah? There's been a good benefit from Majid here. تحت مشيئة الله. That's correct. That's the wording that we should be using. So Allah can forgive or will forgive minor shirk if He so wills. تحت مشيئة الله. So we use that language. If Allah wills, then He can punish if He wills. So that means that it's a sin, but it can be punished. Barakallahu feekum. Yes. So we said that shirk, the definition of it, like that one for tawheed. So some ulama said, من سوى غير الله غير الله بالله فيما هو من خصائص الله. And سوى غير الله, whoever makes equal غير الله, other than Allah, بالله, with Allah, فيما هو من خصائص الله, that which is specific and unique to Allah, فقد وقع في الشرك أكبر. And so you can just remember Tawheed and then go the other way. And that's the easier way. So if you know what Tawheed, you know what the shirk is. 3 categories, 2 categories. Any other quick questions? Yes, Sheikh. Are takfirs of various groups? Yes. Some of them are more clear-cut, some of them are more subtle, some of them look like Salafis, some of them don't. So there are many of them, and some of them they are more subtle in the way that they do it. So they may restrict the issue of takfir to certain issues, like they do with the hukam, and others they do with the awam. Some of them they're like violent, some of them are not violent. So we have to know that the issues that we're studying, it doesn't always look the same. Someone may be a takfiri, he may look like, mashallah, a person of deen. His qamis is very high, he has a beard, he teaches books, but when certain topics come, it's wrong what he's saying. So that's why we have to know there are different groups, and even in the past the Khawarij were different groups. Until today, so we have to understand that. So we're looking only at the usul. وَإِلَّا the ulama have done great work on looking at overarching principles they all operate from. But this is obviously just the basics, so we're not going to get that far. But inshallah, if we're learning this much, at least we distance ourselves from the Khawarij, inshallah. And any last question? Yes, last one, brother. So someone cursing the Sahaba, like the Rafida, we're going to get to that when it comes to this istihza wa sab. So this one will get there. People who are lay, people who do this, are they excused or not? And we'll come to that. So right now, we just did the first one. So one by one, inshallah. Jazakum Allah khair. Subhanallahi wa bihamdihi. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.